Right, we're right back now, and this is Brighter Morning with Bo, and we thank you for staying. We go to our first guest, Mr. Joshua Ramjattan. Mr. Ramjattan, how are you? Can you hear
Good
me?
morning, Dr. Tiwari, and good morning to all of your viewers. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and thank you for agreeing to come on the show. It's always nice to talk to a young person, bright and gifted and ready to contribute to the society. Your field of study is mathematics. Tell me why you chose that. And often mathematics is a problem for students at primary school and then in secondary school. And people feel that you have to have a gift for mathematics, or you have to have a special talent for mathematics because it presents so many difficulties to the ordinary person. Tell me how you got into this.
Sure. So when I was in Form 1, and from Form 1 to say Form 4, mathematics was just like any other subject to me. I mean, I was still doing well in it, but I didn't really see the importance of it until later on when I started doing things like art maths and so on. But it was really in Form 6 when I was exposed to applied mathematics, when I started learning about the ways in which we could use mathematics to solve real world problems. That's when my interest in the field really sparked, and that's when I decided I wanted to pursue this at the tertiary level. With regards to how persons feel about mathematics, I for some reason people seem to not like it or find it difficult for some reason. I'm not exactly sure why that is. I think it's a subject that requires you to think logically and to be a problem solver, and that's a skill that all of us need to have in order to survive. So um, I think with regards to persons who don't like it or who find it difficult or some for some reason, I think all mathematics requires is just an imagination, because all of the things that we do in mathematics, it might seem difficult, it might seem to be complex, but it will always boil down to four simple operations. So that's my take on that.
All right, you said something very interesting there. You talked about your high school and your high school teaching and the fact that it really triggered an interest because one of your teachers would have taken the time to explain how you can use mathematics in real world problems. First of all, tell me what high school you went to and whether there's any teacher that you'd like to single out who made a difference in your appreciation, not your understanding, but in your appreciation of mathematics.
So I went to Naparima College. I attended there from 2011 to 2018. And during my time there, in my final 2 years in Form 6, I had three really great pure and applied maths teachers. Those are Miss Vidya Bechan, Miss Hansraji Jaikisu, and Mr. Alan Omrao. So those are three people who really had an impact on my understanding and appreciation for mathematics.
Okay, and what did they trigger in you about your understanding of mathematics that really made you committed to pursuing a career in mathematics? Is there any one thing
Well,
that did this?
when I started doing applied mathematics, to be honest, I actually I didn't plan on doing applied mathematics initially. I just planned on doing pure maths, physics and chemistry, and later on applied maths was added on later to that. And I told myself I didn't want to do an extra subject, but I said I'll probably try it out for maybe 2 months, and when it's time to actually register for CAPE, I'll make a decision. And I ended up falling in love with applied maths, and and so that's how I came here. Um, it was really when those teachers started to when they started to describe and to explain how it is that we can use the tools that we learn in pure mathematics, things like calculus and those kinds of things, to solve real world problems and to apply them to everyday life. That's when I really my mind started to open up as to how we could actually use this field to solve problems in the world.
All right. What are you doing now?
Well, in 2018, I actually won an open scholarship in mathematics. And I'm sure, as you know, when you're a scholarship winner and you complete your course of study, you have to serve a period of obligatory service to the government. So right now, I'm fulfilling that period of service to the government with the Ministry of Education. I'm an associate professional at the Department of Mathematics and Statistics at UWI.
All right. Okay. So you are at UWI now, and you are working in that area. But do you feel employed at the level of your competence, or do you feel underemployed?
110%, I'm employed at the level of my competence. I would not be able to do what it is that I have to do right now without the degree that I have. I use my degree every single day, even up to the things that I learned from year one straight down to the last day in year three. I use it every single day. So I don't consider myself to be underemployed at the moment.
All right, you're in a great position then, so that's wonderful. What about your career path? If you think of your future, let's say over the next 10 years, what are you looking forward to over the next 10 years for yourself as a career path, or as a development path for that matter?
Well, I'm actually one of those persons that got into mathematics because I wanted to stay in academia as well. There are some people like to go the applied routes of math, like I said earlier, and branch out into more specialized things. But I actually want to stay in academia and contribute to teaching and so on. But you know, the sky is the limit, right? So I would not rule out, you know, having a career in something like statistics or quantitative analysis or something like that.
Well, we need people like that very badly. You don't have people a lot. You don't have a lot of people trained in those areas. Sometimes when a person is a good mathematician, they might go into actuarial studies, for instance, and go in the private sector. But you don't have people very dedicated to statistics and making sense of statistics and dealing with statistical information. And today with computers, there is so much that you can do with that, because the computer is like an extension of your brain capacity. Have you been looking at those kinds of things and what mathematics can do in terms of the options available to you? And secondly, what you think that a choice might be given what you see in Trinidad and Tobago? Is that connection in your head as you probe?
Yeah, so a lot of times when people start off with a first degree in math and they start learning by nature of being a mathematician, you're exposed to a lot of things that you described in the computer science world and particularly in the field of data science. You know, up until about 2017, 2018, oil was regarded as the most valuable resource on earth. Now data is actually regarded as the most valuable resource on earth. So, and in the 21st century, data science is what data science is the way forward, right? So by nature of being in mathematics, you're exposed to a lot of computer programs and a lot of different types of software that help with um, computing calculations and so on in math. And those are the kinds of things that mathematics has in its future right now. So that's something that I look forward to seeing data science and so on developed more in Trinidad and Tobago. With respect to our local interest in mathematics and so on, we actually have a lot of people. We have statistical officers at places like the Central Statistical Office and so on who collect and analyze data on a wide range of topics like our macroeconomic aggregates and labor data and unemployment or housing and census data and so on. And these are some of the areas that mathematicians in Trinidad in particular might delve into. These are some of the places that people who do mathematics and statistics and actuarial science and so on may end up in the future. So I think data science and statistics, those are the two main parts of maths that are most relevant to Trinidad and Tobago right now.
Okay, that's very good. So it's likely that you're going to pursue more academic work and see how far that takes you in something like data science as you delve more deeply into it. Is that correct? Is that where you want to head? Is that where you want to head?
Well, actually, it's more. I actually am really consider myself an applied mathematician, right? I like anything to do with applied maths, where we use the tools from pure mathematics to solve problems. So it could be statistics, it could be data science, but I also like pure mathematics. So I wouldn't rule out a future that stays in pure mathematics, that maybe conducting research in pure mathematics and so on.
All right, okay, so the sky's the limit for you, and that is really, really wonderful. I'm happy to see that. I'm happy to hear you talk in the way that you talk. I'm happy that you are fulfilled in the work that you are doing, and that you feel that the platform of a first degree in mathematics has really given you something to jump off to. We're going to have to take a commercial break now, Joshua, and we will come back and we will continue the discussion when we come back. This is Brighter Morning with Bo. I am Bo Tiwari, and we're talking to Joshua Ramjattan, a first-class honors graduate in mathematics from the University of the West Indies in the Faculty of Science, Technology, Food, and Agriculture. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Lifetime Solutions, where you can trust your roof to us. Our services include custom fabrication, steel framing, roofing installation, on-site roll forming, roofing maintenance and services. Call 223-ROOF or 223-7663 for a quote today, or visit our website www.lifetimesolutionst.com. Lifetime Solutions. You can trust your roof to us. Call 223-ROOF or 223-7663 for a quote today, or visit our website www.lifetimesolutionstt.com.
welcome back. We're talking to Joshua Ramjattan, a young graduate and valedictorian at the University of the West Indies. He is a graduate in mathematics, and we're talking to him really about mathematics and what it has done for him, what it means to him, and how he proceeds, how he will proceed in the future. I want to talk to you a little bit. You came from Naparima. I'm sure you had a wonderful experience at Naparima College. And you came to UWI. What was your experience like at UWI? And I suspect you have two different kinds of experiences. One pre-COVID, and then one when COVID hit and everything had to change and go online and so on. So tell me about those experiences and compare and contrast them for me for a minute.
Sure. So I was actually part of the year group that would have spent exactly half of my time in physical face-to-face classes and the other half in virtual mode. At the beginning, the first half of my experience at UWI was an excellent one. I was very happy to be engrossed in the mathematics and learning about this new field and meeting new people and so on. But when COVID hit in March of 2020, that was when things took a very different turn. Within a matter of about 1 week in March, we actually had to transition to online learning, and that was quite a leap. It was not an easy experience. It was certainly a difficult one straight down to the end because online learning it's a mode of learning that for the most part we were unfamiliar, and unless persons really experience it yourselves, you may not understand how difficult it is to learn in a virtual mode. For instance, your brain, it does not retain information the same way it does when you're in a physical classroom, when you're in a face-to-face classroom. So actually retaining information and learning it and being able to apply it and solve problems and do exams and assignments and so on, that was really a difficult experience. And it certainly, right now, I'm certainly glad to be over with it for now.
Okay, so you didn't like the online experience, and you feel that it was a little challenging for you. Tell me, I understand why you enjoyed the face-to-face education. I mean, you were with your peers, you had social interactions, you could interact with your teacher in a classroom and so on. But what were the things that turned out to be really problematic or challenges in online education?
Well, specific to mathematics, when you learn mathematics in a physical classroom, you're really solving problems and you're seeing things as they are written on the board, and that's when you actually learn it and it actually retains in your mind. When you're actually in a virtual classroom, a virtual math classroom, the math itself, it has to be written out or on slides or on PDF documents beforehand, and you're seeing it all of the equations and so on, all of it straight out at you, all of it for the first time, and it becomes very difficult to make sense of it. So to compare it to the traditional face-to-face classroom, that was the most difficult part of learning maths. On the side of that now, you have your obvious the differences in terms of interaction and so on. And when you're in face-to-face class, you can ask questions, you could communicate with your peers and so on. When you're in a virtual classroom, the only way for you to ask questions when like by typing it into a chat box, or say using your raise hand feature in your classroom to try to pose a question to your lecturer or your instructor or so on. And it becomes even more difficult for the person who's teaching you as well, because she or he would not be able to gauge, just from the expressions on your faces, they would not be able to gauge whether students are grasping the concept or not. So that was the most difficult part of it, actually learning it. And as I said, retaining the information afterwards was a challenge as well, because I mean, I even after being in virtual mode for about a year and a half, even when you study for hours and hours, burning the midnight oil, and when it comes to a final exam, sometimes my mind just went blank, because for some reason the information just couldn't come back to me, even though you spend hours trying to learn it and try to solve problems and so on. But so that was the most difficult and most challenging part of it.
Okay, isn't it? I mean, in the transition, you had to transition to a technological interface, and I guess it was then a learning experience for both the teacher and the student about the technological interface, first of all. So you had to try and master that, and you had very limited time, and you still had the work to cover. And in addition to that, you had the complexity of the work itself, which you had to manage. And I imagine teaching styles would have been affected too. If you give a student a whole problem which is solved and you present it to him, it becomes a jumble of confusion unless the teacher really goes through, you might say line by line, explaining the steps on how you get from step A to B to C to D. And that makes it very, very difficult. And therefore, it transferring to the technology really means that you have to initiate the student into the process of making the technology work for him or her and making it work for the collective. And then you have to basically initiate the teacher into what is available with the technology that could make the classroom experience virtually as good or even better, because some people think that it really works well for the student and the teacher. So I think what happened in that dramatic shift that you had to make in a week, everybody was sort of learning on the job and experimenting, and that would have created some difficulties, no?
Yes, you hit the nail on the head with that when you were describing the math problems and line solving problems line by line and seeing the explanations written out there for you. So yes, that was the most difficult part of it. The platform that we were using at UE is called Blackboard Collaborate. So in that platform, we had a shared screen that where the lecturer would share a file or share their actual screen of something they were writing and so on. And we had like a chat, like I said, a chat box on the side, and we had a raise hand feature, and that was really your only modes to communicate with the lecturer. And in that first 2 weeks, in the transition, we encountered a lot of problems, both from the student's perspective and from the lecturer's perspective. I mean, I remember there was one instance where the lecturer had a camera up and was trying to write on the board, on a whiteboard in UE, and we could not see anything. We just for whatever reason, we just could not see what the lecturer was writing on the board. So yes, I think that was the most challenging part for it. I guess the familiarity with it as the time went on was probably what made it a little bit easier. but it was still a challenge down to the end. And well, students are still doing this right now, and I'm sure a lot of them are experiencing challenges right now.
Yeah, it's a difficult transition. It's not as easy as it sounds. I want to close by asking you about Trinidad and Tobago. You are a young citizen, bright, gifted, you have achieved, you've done well, you've gone to the best schools, you've had a good education at UWI. Tell me, what in Trinidad and Tobago, what is wrong about Trinidad and Tobago? And what are the things that are right about Trinidad and Tobago as a country, as a nation? And what are the things that we need to put right? Don't be afraid to speak your mind, because it's important for me, and I think for listeners, to understand what young people are thinking.
Well, I'm sure none of us are ever at a loss for words when it comes to problems in our society. We have a lot of problems in this country, and you were talking about some of them before, like crime and what the COVID-19 situation right now. We have a lot of underemployment, poverty, inequality, water problems. I'm from South, and we have a lot of water problems right now. We have bad roads in the country. A lot of our roads need repair and so on. So I'm sure all of us are aware of all of the problems that we experience in this country. With regards to the good about Trinidad and Tobago, I think our people, our most valuable asset, and I think history has taught us that we are a resilient people. And I think that's the best part of Trinidad and Tobago. And with regards to the future and how we solve these problems, I think our young people are energized and they're educated and ready to take on these problems. And I think investing in our young people, using our young people to their fullest potential is how we solve these problems. Because we are looking at these problems from a different point of view as, say, politicians who, for the most part, might be a little older than us. And we look at all of the problems that we are seeing right now, things like the adverse effects of climate change and so on. We look at these problems thinking about 40, 50 years from now on what the solutions might look like. And I think that a lot of um, we have a lot of potential in this country. We have a lot of educated people who have the skills and the knowledge to be able to solve some of these problems. I think it is just up to the country to have the will to invest and put our young people at the forefront of these problems. Things like including young people on boards that make decisions about our country. So I think our young people are our most prized assets, and I think they are the well, I include myself in that. We are the force that will make positive change in Trinidad and Tobago.
Well, okay, I think that's a good point on which to conclude. I want to thank you for talking with me this morning. It has been a very refreshing conversation, very hopeful. And I am hopeful for you and for the future of our country and the future of young people, because if I don't have hope for that, I will get depressed by what exists around us now. So as many years I've spent in various things, whether in education or in public life, I remain optimistic and hopeful like you. And we look forward to a better future. And I think that the government would do well to bring together a collaborative think tank of multidisciplinary disposition of young people who have graduated, whether first degrees or master's degrees, and put them to do research, put them to collaborate, put them to think through problems, and see what we come up with. We might be surprised at the innovation and the insight that we might get. So thank you very much, Joshua, for talking with me this morning. This is Brighter Morning with Bo. I am Bo Tiwari, and we break now with Andrew Chan for the 7 o'clock news.